Imagine a weapon that can destroy a city, but you cannot see it, you cannot hear it, and you cannot stop it. It is prowling right now deep beneath the surface of the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic Oceans. It carries enough nuclear firepower to end civilization as we know it, yet it runs silently on a power source that could light up Las Vegas for 20 years without refueling. This is the nuclear submarine, the apex predator of the ocean. But have you ever wondered what life is actually like inside that steel tube? Imagine living for 90 days without seeing the sun. Imagine breathing recycled air that smells like chemicals and sweat. Imagine sleeping next to a torpedo that costs $2 million, knowing that if the hull breaches, the ocean will crush you faster than your brain can register pain. Today, we are going to dive deep, literally. We will take you inside the claustrophobic world of the silent service. We will explain the terrifying physics of buoyancy that keeps these metal monsters from sinking to the bottom. We will reveal the logistical nightmare of feeding a crew of 130 men when you can't open a window or a door. And finally, we will show you the brutal end of these machines, how we chop up a nuclear reactor and bury it in the desert for eternity. This is not just a story about technology. This is a story about human endurance in the most hostile environment on Earth. To understand a submarine, you first have to understand the ocean. It is heavy. At 300 feet down, the pressure is barely noticeable to the submarine, but it is already enough to kill a human diver. At 800 feet, what is known as test depth, the hull is compressing. The pressure is so immense that the steel boat actually shrinks. If you were to tie a string tight across the torpedo room before diving, by the time you reached the bottom, that string would be hanging slack. That is the ocean trying to squeeze the life out of the ship. At crush depth, the ocean wins. So how do we keep the water out? It starts with the double hull. Think of a submarine like a massive, deadly thermos bottle. There is an outer skin, the outer hull, which gives it that smooth, hydrodynamic shape. This allows it to slip through the water silently, minimizing drag and noise. Inside that, separated by ribs of steel, is the pressure hull. This is the thick, high-yield steel cocoon where the crew lives. It is incredibly strong. It has to be. At operating depth, the water is pushing against every square inch of steel with hundreds of pounds of force. But floating is easy. Sinking is the hard part. A submarine works on Archimedes' principle. To dive, it has to become heavier than the water. It opens vents on the top of its ballast tanks and floods them with seawater. The air escapes with a deafening roar and the boat slips beneath the waves. To surface, it does the opposite. It blasts high-pressure compressed air into the tanks, forcing the water out. The boat becomes lighter and shoots to the surface like a cork. But underwater, it is a delicate balancing act. It's called trim. A submarine is like a massive underwater seesaw. If one 200-pound sailor walks from the bow to the stern, it changes the weight distribution enough to affect the angle of the ship. The chief of the watch sits at the control panel, constantly pumping water between trim tanks to keep the boat level. If they mess up, the sub could angle down and dive past its crush depth before they can stop it. It is a game of math played with thousands of tons of steel. And steering, it essentially flies underwater. It has diving planes on the sail, the tower, or the bow, which act like wings. Tilt them down, the sub dives. Tilt them up, it rises. At the back, a massive propeller, the screw pushes it forward. But on modern subs like the Virginia class, the screw is shrouded or replaced by a pump jet propulsor. Why? To eliminate cavitation, the noisy bubbles that form on propeller blades. In the underwater war, noise is death. If the enemy hears you, you die. Now let's talk about the people inside the machine. Life on a submarine is a psychological experiment. You are locked in a windowless factory with 130 other people. There is no day or night, there is only watch. The crew operates on an 18-hour day or similar shifts. You work for 6 hours, you study or clean for 6 hours, and you sleep for 6 hours. Because the sun never rises, your circadian rhythm dissolves. The only way you know it's night is if the lights in the mess hall are dimmed to red. The air is recycled. Machines called scrubbers remove the carbon dioxide you breathe out. Other machines burn oxygen candles or use electrolysis to split seawater into oxygen and hydrogen. Because of the chemicals used to clean the air, submarines have a distinct smell. It's called amine. It smells like old socks and ammonia. It gets into your clothes, it gets into your skin. When a sailor comes home, their family knows they are back before they even open the door. They can smell the sub on them. It is a scent that never washes out of your memories. Food is the only morale booster. Submariners eat better than anyone in the Navy. It's a bribe. The logic is, we will lock you in a can, but we will give you steak and lobster. The galley is tiny, smaller than a food truck, but the culinary specialists work miracles. They serve 4 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midrats, midnight rations. Field day isn't a picnic, it's cleaning day. Once a week, everyone scrubs the boat from top to bottom for hours. But afterwards, it's burger day or pizza night. Fresh food runs out after 2 weeks. The lettuce wilts and disappears. The milk turns to UHT, ultra-high temperature boxed milk that doesn't need refrigeration. The eggs become powdered. By week 8, you are eating canned everything. But there is one rule: don't run out of coffee. A submarine without coffee is a mutiny waiting to happen. Sleeping is a challenge. Junior sailors sleep in berthing. The racks' beds are stacked 3 high. They are called coffin lockers for a reason. You have about 4 inches of space above your nose. You can't sit up. You slide in. On some boats, there aren't enough beds for the crew. This is called hot racking. 3 sailors share 2 beds. When one guy gets up to go on watch, another guy climbs into his warm bed to sleep. It is gross. It is efficient. It is submarine life. So how do you stay underwater for months? The reactor gives you infinite power. The scrubbers give you infinite air. The ocean gives you infinite water. The limiting factor is food. Eventually, the sub has to resupply, but it doesn't want to be seen. This leads to VRTREP, vertical replenishment. The sub comes to periscope depth or surfaces just barely. A helicopter hovers overhead and lowers pallets of food onto the wet, slippery deck. A team of sailors harnesses up and runs out to grab the cargo. It is dangerous. The deck is round and slick with algae. One slip and you are in the ocean. They drag the boxes to the hatches and pass them down hand over hand like a bucket brigade. Thousands of pounds of chicken, flour, and coffee disappear into the hatch in minutes. Then the sub dives again, vanishing into the deep. But sometimes the mission is in the Arctic. Navigating under the ice is terrifying. The ice creates a ceiling. You can't surface if there is an emergency. The sonar creates a map of the ice above. They look for polynyas, thin spots, or cracks in the ice. When they find one, they do something crazy: an ice surface. The submarine stops. It hovers. Then it blasts its ballast tanks and rises vertically. The sail, which is reinforced with hardened steel, smashes into the ice from below with the force of a train crash. Crack! It punches through up to 3 feet of solid ice. The crew climbs out into a frozen white wasteland. They use chainsaws to cut the ice away from the hatches. Why do we do this? To prove we can. To show Russia and China that the US Navy owns the Arctic. Let's not forget, this is a warship. A boomer, ballistic missile submarine, carries up to 20 Trident IID-5 missiles. Each missile can carry multiple nuclear warheads. One submarine carries more destructive power than all the bombs dropped in World War II combined. Their mission is simple: hide. They go to a random spot in the ocean and sit there silently, waiting for the order that everyone hopes never comes. If they launch, the world ends. An attack sub like the Virginia or Los Angeles class is a hunter. It carries Tomahawk cruise missiles and Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes. The Mark 48 is a nightmare. It is wire-guided, it is fast, and it is smart. It uses its own sonar to find the enemy ship. When it hits, it doesn't just punch a hole, it explodes under the keel of the ship. The explosion creates a massive gas bubble that lifts the ship out of the water. The ship's back breaks. Then the bubble collapses and the ship falls into the void. It snaps in half. one torpedo, one destroyer, gone. But the most important weapon is the sonar. In the deep, you are blind, you fight with your ears. The sonar girls and guys sit in a dark room wearing headphones listening to the ocean. They can hear a whale singing 500 miles away. They can hear a shrimp snapping its claws, and they can hear the faint hum of a Russian propeller or the clank of a dropped wrench on a Chinese sub. It is a game of cat and mouse. If you make a sound, you are dead. This leads to the order, rig for ultra quiet. When this order is given, everything stops. No cooking, no showers, no running, people walk in socks, you speak in whispers, because outside something is hunting you. The psychological strain of ultra-quiet is intense. You are holding your breath, waiting for a torpedo impact that could come at any second. Nothing lasts forever. Eventually, the reactor fuel runs low. The hull metal fatigues from thousands of cycles of compression and expansion. The submarine must die, but you can't just scrap a nuclear submarine. It is radioactive. So the US Navy created the Ship Submarine Recycling Program, SRP, in Bremerton, Washington. It is the only place in the world equipped to butcher these leviathans. It is a process that takes years and costs millions. Step 1 is defueling. This is the most dangerous part. The sub is put in dry dock. Workers cut into the hull to access the reactor compartment. Robotic arms and specialized teams remove the spent nuclear fuel rods. These are highly radioactive. They are placed in shielded casks and shipped by specialized train to a secure facility in Idaho. Once the fuel is gone, the sub is just a toxic metal tube. Step 2 is the chop shop. The sub is towed into the recycling dry dock. Massive plasma torches and hydraulic shears start cutting. They cut off the sail, they cut off the diving planes, they slice the hull into sections like a loaf of bread. The forward compartment where the crew lived, ate, and slept is scrapped. The high-quality steel is melted down to become razor blades or new cars. The aft compartment, the engine room, is also scrapped, but the middle section, that's the problem. This is the reactor compartment. The section containing the nuclear reactor vessel is too hot to recycle. It is still radioactive, so they don't open it, they seal it. They weld thick steel plates over both ends of the reactor section. It becomes a massive sealed steel cylinder, a cask. This cask weighs over 1,000 tons. They lift it with a crane that is one of the largest in the world. Then they put it on a barge. Step 4 is the burial. The barge travels up the Columbia River. Then the cask is loaded onto a monster transporter, a truck with hundreds of wheels to distribute the massive weight. It drives into the desert to the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. Here, in a massive open trench known as Trench 94, the reactor compartments are laid to rest. If you look at Trench 94 on Google Earth, it is shocking. Row after row of massive steel cylinders. The USS Enterprise is there. The USS Triton is there. Over 130 reactor compartments are sitting in the dirt, waiting for what? Waiting for the radiation to decay. It will take thousands of years. They are monuments to the Cold War, silent tombs for the engines that once drove the most powerful machines in history. Eventually, the trench will be filled and buried. A marker will be placed, and they will sleep in the desert forever. The submarine is a paradox. It is a machine of war designed to keep the peace. It is a marvel of engineering that requires its crew to live like cavemen. It is the most expensive weapon ever built, and yet it ends its life as a rusty can buried in the sand. But for the sailors who wore the dolphins, the submarine warfare insignia, it is more than a machine. It is a brotherhood. They survived the pressure. They survived the boredom. They survived the Amine smell and the bad food. They are the silent service. Their motto is "We come unseen." And as we look at the future with new Columbia-class submarines being built to replace the aging Ohio-class, one thing remains certain. As long as there are oceans, there will be men and women willing to vanish beneath them, willing to live in the dark, willing to hold the line. The engineering challenges of the next generation are even greater. The new Columbia class will use electric drive propulsion, making them even quieter than the Virginia class. They will have X-stern rudders for better maneuverability in shallow waters. They are designed to last for 42 years without ever needing to refuel their nuclear reactors. This means the reactor core is built for the life of the ship, but it also means the stakes are higher. If something goes wrong with the reactor, you can't just swap it out. The entire boat is built around that beating nuclear heart. The cost of these new submarines is astronomical, over $8 billion per boat, but the Navy argues it is the price of insurance. In a world of hypersonic missiles and satellite surveillance, the ocean depths are the only place left to hide. The submarine remains the ultimate trump card in global geopolitics. Consider the medical reality of living on a sub. There is no doctor on board most submarines, only an independent duty corpsman (IDC). This is a senior enlisted sailor trained to do everything from prescribing antibiotics to performing emergency dentistry and minor surgery. If you have appendicitis in the middle of the Pacific, the IDC is your only hope. They turn the wardroom table into an operating table. They use flashlights if the power is out. It is frontier medicine in a high-tech tube. The psychological screening for submariners is rigorous. You cannot be claustrophobic, you cannot have a temper, you have to be able to get along with people you hate because there is nowhere to run. If you fight, you endanger the boat. This creates a unique culture of self-regulation. Problems are solved quietly, often without officers getting involved. It is a tribe with its own language and its own rules. And let's talk about the danger of water itself. Flooding is the submariner's nightmare. A leak at depth comes in like a high-pressure water jet that can slice through bone. The sheer volume of water entering the boat can make it too heavy to surface in seconds. The crew trains relentlessly for damage control. They practice plugging holes in the dark, wading through freezing water, fighting fires in smoke-filled compartments. Every sailor on a submarine, from the cook to the captain, must know every system on the boat. You have to know how to blow the ballast tanks. You have to know how to isolate a steam leak. Because when the alarm sounds, there is no fire department coming to save you. You are the fire department. You are the damage control team. You are the only thing standing between the crew and the crushed depth. Even the waste management is critical. You can't just flush a toilet on a submarine whenever you want. The waste goes into a sanitary tank, sand tank. To empty it, the boat has to pressurize the tank higher than the outside water pressure and blow it overboard. If you mess up the valve sequence, the high-pressure sewage can blow back into the boat. This is called wearing the contents of the sand tank. It is exactly as horrific as it sounds. It is a mistake a sailor only makes once. As we conclude this journey into the deep, remember that right now, while you are watching this, there are thousands of sailors underwater. They are monitoring their sonar screens. They are turning valves. They are sleeping in coffin lockers. They are the invisible shield. They sacrifice the sun, the fresh air, and their connection to the world so that we can sleep safely. The nuclear submarine is a testament to human ingenuity and human endurance. It is a steel beast that we have tamed but never fully conquered. If this deep dive into the hidden world of submarines blew your mind, I need you to do a few things. First, subscribe to the Tactical Chow channel right now. We investigate the most extreme engineering on the planet, and you don't want to miss our next video. Second, hit the like button. It helps us surface from the depths of the YouTube algorithm. Third, leave a comment below. Would you have the guts to live underwater for 90 days, or would the claustrophobia break you? Let me know. And finally, if you think submarines are crazy, wait until you see what happens when we try to drill to the center of the Earth. Click the video on your screen right now to see the story of the deepest hole ever dug. It's a journey into hell itself. Click it, and I'll see you there.